All right, guys and gals, this is Northman, and we are back with another Tarkov testing. So today I was doing covert movement, and what I did to test this was walking and then reducing my speed initially, and then I tested crouching to see if that changed the threshold. Now, the wiki says that anything below 75% walking speed, you actually start to get covert movement points. And what I found is that's not the case. At 60% walking, I had no change. Walking had no change. I didn't see a change until I got down to 25% walking speed. And that shows that there is a little bit of a discrepancy between the data that's out there and what's actually happening. Now, I've heard people say that there is a correlation between the number of speaker volume that you see in the bottom left. So if you see one, you should be getting points. And that's not the case. Anything below 75%, you're in that one range. Crouching did change the threshold, though. At crouching, we started to gain points at 40% speed. And to test out to see if we were getting a change with the reduction speed, I then went back into a raid and did 20% and no speed all the way at the bottom. And what I found was we were averaging, like, we were right at that 3 for most of those. The 25% walking was a 2.9. I don't know if that was just a slightly different route I took or what. But as you can see on your screen, I was doing a very basic route. Now, then went and did 100 steps, no stop, no menu, because I found that if you stop or you open your menu, it actually resets and you don't get points. I got fresh start value, which means I went until that point filled. So that way I knew I was starting at a 26.30 starting point. With that starting point, I then went and did 100 steps, no stop, no menu, and that got me 0.7. I did it again to get a 0.6. So our average right there was a 0.65, but that's not significant with only 2 data points. So I went for a third one, and I got a 0.7. So we're averaging about 0.67. I would say you're probably going to get that 0.7. It may fluctuate in between slightly for every 100 steps, but that's 100 steps, no stopping is important to remember. And so over the course of the 2 raids, I saw an increase of 5.9 and 8.1, and that is using the same route, and then the 100 step method actually seemed to be getting me a lot more consistent data there as well. But there's also some misconceptions around this. At one point, there was supposedly a way of getting covert movement points by just walking around with your hatchet out. I tested that, found it doesn't do anything. And then there's a couple other random things that I tested, such as different types of floor. I tried to control for that by walking on the same floor, but then I went in and I just was walking on metal and saw no change in the values. I went in and walked on just concrete, no change. So, as far as I could tell, there wasn't anything that was actually affecting that. The only thing I can't control for is if it is doing more of a GPS style retention of that data. So if I was just sitting there walking on one grate around and around and around, it may not actually qualify that as points. Which that is how I tested material, just because it's really difficult to get 100 steps on one material without doing that. All this testing was in factory in an offline raid, so there is some subjectivity going on where offline raids sometimes show different than what's happening in a real raid, but based on what I've seen in the past of when I start noticing point increases in the skill is when we are slowing down and taking real slow raids. Most of the time we're doing that on interchange. Everything else we kind of go back and forth between a fast pace and a slow pace game. Um, that's this skill really is useful. It's going to get you a lot closer to enemies a lot faster, and actually alters the way the scavs interact with you. I'm still a fairly low covert movement level at this point, so I can't show you that. But in the previous patch, I did notice some behavioral change. It wasn't as significant as what I've heard is going on this patch. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. That is right about our 5-minute mark, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Have a good one.